good to go?
Yep. Okay, that's just the normal privacy thing. If you don't feel if you want to be on the live streaming, I've got to ask you if you can leave the meeting anytime you want, but it's going live now. Cool.
Kia ora koutou, everyone. Nō mai haere mai. Welcome to our September monthly council meeting. Nice to have everyone here, even though we're all on Zoom. Interesting times for sure, and welcome to all our live streamers. Thank you very much for joining us as well. So we will make a start. There'll be no housekeeping issues, but please make sure that you're sitting comfortably and there's no cords or anything that are going to trip you up if you move. We'll make a start with our karakia. Tua ki a roto. If we could all join in, please. And Marty, I'll get you to lead us off. Kia inoi tātou.
Yeah. Tēnei au, tēnei mātou. He kaikomihira, he kāwenga, i ngā whakataunga, i ngā tikanga, ki uta ki tai.
Kia.
Ki rewa ai ngā iwi katoa o te tai tōkara. Oye, kuye, tai ki te.
Kia ora. A little bit more difficult on Zoom, isn't it? Okay, so we have apologies today from Councillor Justin Blakey and Councillor Colin Kitchen. If I could have, I'll move that. If I could have a seconder, please. Thank you, Amy. You had your hand up first. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. Item 4, we'll take declarations of conflicts of interest as we go, and then unless anyone has one that they'd like to declare now. No. Okay, item 5, council minutes and action sheet. Confirmation of the minutes from the 17th of August meeting. Could I have a mover? Thank you, Jack. Seconded, Joss. Any matters arising? No. All those in favour?
Aye.
No. Against? Carried. Receipt of the action sheet. Sorry, I'll just get there. So there was only the one item. So, Chris, do I need move and seconder for the action sheet? I do, don't I?
Yes, please.
Yes. So
I'll move.
Thank you, Marty. Seconded, Rick. Thank you. So that one action was complete. Any questions, comments?
No.
No. All good. We'll see that later on anyway in our report. So all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay. Item 6, financial reports. So we have just the recommendation to receive the report. Could I have a mover and seconder, please?
Yep, definitely.
Rick, seconded. Jack, are there any discussion or questions? Finances. Do we have someone from staff that would like to speak to them?
Yes, Chair. I think we're in a good position, but it's so early in the year that it's very difficult to say what the trend is, if anything. I just guess one point that I will point out in the report, this is on page 21, is that we are running a considerable favourable salary variance year to date of $233,000. I think that's the main thing I'd point out to you in the report. And that's predominantly due to the timing to complete recruitment of the positions in the LTP and some vacancies remaining from last year.
Yeah, I did notice that. Thank you, Bruce, as I'm sure the other councillors did. So what happens with that? It's just carried forward.
Chair, so it rolls forward month to month, but it does effectively get lost into the overall surplus at the end of the financial year. So it carries forward during the year, but doesn't carry forward from one year to the next.
Yeah. Okay. we've had this situation before, haven't we? It's unfortunate, but just a reality at the moment. Any further comments or questions from either Stuart or Danny?
No, I mean, I'm looking at the 2 months. I just had one question. I know I read through some of the breakdown from you, Simon, and from Vincent, and we looked at the impact on the long-term fund. But reading the Ericsson report last night for August, I didn't see where those declines came from in terms of I think that your 2-month reports showing July, but possibly hasn't caught up with the August revaluations. Would I be right in that?
Yes, Chair. So that's correct. So the July is an actual figure. August is an accrued figure because the accounts closed before we had the actuals received. So council recall that every single set of accounts that you receive is actuals up to 2 months back, and the most recent month is always an accrual because we haven't received the actuals yet for the month by the time we close the accounts for reporting to council. So there's always a combination of actuals and accrual.
Yep. So I guess what I'm saying is that probably the 2 months looks a little better than it's indicating.
Yes, Chair, that's correct.
Yeah.
Vincent here. I do have the numbers if you want me to rattle through them.
If that's easy to do, Vince, yeah.
Yes. So in terms of additional gains above what was accrued based on Ericsson's advice, we're looking at 390k for the long-term fund and 88k for the short-term fund, which is an additional 478 in total.
Great. That closes the gap that was inside those the breakdown. So yeah, that's thanks for that.
Cool. Thanks, Vince. Amy, is yours a different question, Amy, or Rick, did you want to carry on?
I just want to say, look, it is covered in the report, so it's a good point that Stuart brings up, but it is covered in that, you know, where the accrued is for August. So
okay, thank you.
Everybody's got the Ericsson report.
Yep. Amy.
Thanks, Penny. I just wanted to a question, I guess, for Malcolm, just going back to that salary saving that we're seeing, and just I guess that salary saving reflects a loss of staff time to work on projects, and just wondering if managers have flexibility to use salary savings for contractors if there are key outputs in the LTP that are being slowed down or affected by their inability to recruit or recruitment delay.
So, Chair, if managers were to request that, I do have authority to be able to move between budget codes, but at this point I haven't received a request to that effect. So the salary savings always, because we budget for staff, particularly where there's new staff coming on from the 1st of July, we always have that period for the recruitment that shows in these early months of salary savings, and that tends to be sort of eaten into over the course of the year as you have, more fuller complement of staff there. So one would expect this to go down, but I will just note that one of the exercises we're looking at is the impact of the recent COVID lockdown, because if you look at the lines, particularly the environmental services line, that surplus is higher than what we would normally expect at this time of the year. And that is as a direct result of us not being able to do a whole lot of field work in lockdown. So I've asked group managers to go and look at their groups and then just try and identify those programs that have been delayed due to lockdowns, and to see what can be done to accelerate that and catch that up over the coming months as we go back into more normal operations.
Welcome.
Thank you. Any further questions? No? Okay, thanks. All those in favour of item 6.1, financial reports?
Aye.
Anyone against? I might need to see hands up, please, because I'm just assuming, yeah, I can't always hear. You can use your reaction hand up if you want to, but
We can't.
Right,
Too
yeah.
hard.
it's more anyone against that I really need to hear from. So
We haven't got a thumbs down.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to decision-making matters, item 7. So the first one is 7.1, council input to government proposals, and there are 4 recommendations. Is everyone happy to take them all together? Cool. Moved by Joss, seconded by Jack. Thank you. Questions or comments? Joss.
I just wanted to make a quick comment here. This shows the absolute quantum of what's coming out of central government at the moment, and the balancing act that we're having to make between governance input into that as much as possible, consulting with and getting feedback from TTMAC as much as possible, and just the timing, because we don't know what's happening. When it came to the Planning and Regulatory Working Party meeting, we thought it was really important that it came before full council because of the scope of the change that's coming through from central government, and it is extensive. So it's a really good indication, and frankly, for anybody who's actually listening to be looking through and seeing exactly what is actually coming out of central government in this next wee while, it's massive. So I think we've struck a good balance with what's being proposed here in terms of how to move forward and progress these through and get as much council input as possible, whilst still maintaining a process that staff can actually manage. So that's what we were hoping for.
Yeah, thanks, Joss. So I guess the most crucial recommendation is number 2, with that delegation of authority, because it's not something that we, well, normally it's actually delegated to ELT, but this, because it's of such interest to councillors, there's that delegation in there to myself and the chair of the relevant working party. But I just want to reiterate that, every endeavour will be made to have full council with the ability to have input into, if we can fit it into workshop times and the timeframes for the submissions. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this? Marty.
Yeah, just in that item 2 is just to affirm that there should be sufficient time for comment. I mean, it's, I don't know, I know that time is short, but I think that should be put in there somehow.
Sorry, not sure where you would put that.
Well, it says formal council approval being sought, provided the draft is circulated to elected members for sufficient time to comment, or as much time to comment as possible, and the submission is retrospectively approved. It's got to be the decision being made has to be distributed almost immediately, so there's sufficient time to, or adequate time for comment, reading and comment by other councillors.
Yeah, I think what this means, that paragraph there, is that the submission will be approved by the chair and the chair of the relevant working party, and then retrospectively approved by council. So I'm not sure that the word sufficient needs to be in there.
Okay, well, what I understood it was going to be that there was going to be enough time for members to make comment before it actually went through for the decision to be made by the chair and chairs of the working party. That was
sorry, Marty.
distributed for input.
Ben, can you clarify for us, please?
Yes, so no, the idea is that any submission that would trigger clause 2 would be circulated to elected members before being signed off by the chair, the two chairs.
Yeah,
okay.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, just wouldn't be workshopped.
It could well be if time allows for it, but worst case scenario, it would mean, worst case would be we'd circulate a version to all of council for comment, and then the two chairs would sign off.
Okay, all right.
We would hope that any consultation period would at least allow that process.
Yeah, oh, that's good. That's good.
So perhaps that comment and input is able to be given before a decision by the two chairs is made, the chair and the chair of the WP, if that can be put in there. I think it's just important transparency. What do you reckon, Ben?
I'm comfortable with adding in the if you want to add in along the lines of a suitable time for comment. I think it is clear enough that it's circulated to members before it is signed by the chairs. So.
Okay, thanks, Penny.
Okay, so are we talking about a change to that recommendation then? Or not? We're all clear that that's what it means? Ben, you said something about adding.
If councillors want to add some words along the lines Marty was suggesting around giving sufficient time for comment, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, for comment, provided input can be made, but for comment before the decision is made by the chairs.
Again, I think the wording is clear enough on that aspect because it says being sought provided a draft is circulated to elected members for comment. So that to me is quite clear that it isn't being signed off by the two chairs.
Yeah, thank you.
So my comment was about if you want to add in something along the lines of having sufficient time to comment.
Yes, please.
I've got Amy and then Jack.
Thanks. So I guess I just wanted to reflect on what Marty was saying, and I think I see it the other way, Marty. I think the discussion we had in the working party was really that these pieces of work will be coming through quite thick and fast.
Yes.
And so the onus is on councillors to be engaged in a timely manner, and we really need to slip into the timeframes that have been set by the central government processes. So I understand what you mean, but I think I'm comfortable with the wording as it is, and the onus is on us as individuals to make time available to provide comment in a timely manner. So just supporting the recommendation as it stands.
Thanks, Amy. Jack, you had a comment?
Yeah, just to add to Amy's comment, it's us that needs to be more nimble because the government's not going to wait. So, and you have a look at the indicative timelines in the report there. There's 11 big actions to take effect between, was it July and Christmas? So we'll obviously all end up with about a 2,000-page Christmas present of submissions. But I think in order to get ahead of it, I would encourage councillors, and I might start doing it myself, to attend by Zooming or physically being present at Joss's working party, because that's where most of that work's going to occur. So if you get at least a week or 10 days heads up by linking into that.
Yeah, I think that, and Joss, you're probably going to say this, the working party won't be meeting often enough for that necessarily to happen, Jack, but it's not that it's a bad idea. Joss?
Yeah, there's kind of two components to that, Chair. So firstly, there's a lot of the stuff that we don't actually know what we don't know until the government releases it. So it's a matter more of keeping an eye on what is actually being released onto government website as quickly as possible. And that is as simple as jumping into MFE and actually subscribing so that you get the information as soon as it comes through that's available online. And that's how I generally keep abreast of what's out there in terms of anything before it actually, our staff have had the opportunity to be able to read it and actually process it. I'm actually going through the process of just kind of jumping on online, looking at what's out there in terms of the documentation that they've released, so that I've got a heads up and I understand what it is that the staff are then feeding to me or to us as council. So I think that's probably the best way that we as councillors can kind of keep abreast of what is coming out. And the other thing is just as, and I mean, I actually support the recommendation as it is about that nimbleness of us as councillors being able to actually respond when staff have given us the information to be able to actually prioritise that and get it out there. The comments that we had made in the working party was very much around these are priority pieces of work because they impact every single function of what it is that we as a regional council are actually doing. And therefore, if we want to have some governance oversight of that, then we really need to be inputting into that process in a timely fashion. So it's up to us to stay abreast of it and do that. And that's what this recommendation really is addressing. And so I'm very happy with it to stay exactly as it is, as the mover of that recommendation.
Thanks, Joss. Marty, were you still wanting to put an amendment in? Need a seconder.
No, I'll leave it at that. It's just this recommendation, these recommendations are not for our benefit, they're for public benefit. So that's where my concern came from. Thanks.
Yeah. We'll certainly make sure that councillors are aware of timeframes as to when. But yes, I'm happy to leave it as is. Is there any other comments around this paper? Or are there, sorry?
Yeah. No. Thanks, Penny.
All those in favour of 7.1?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. 7.2, the Tomorere River Working Group. Just the two recommendations. So Justin isn't here. Is there reasonably straightforward? Any staff wanting to comment? Sorry, male lady. No staff? Any other comments? Oh, sorry, mover and seconder.
I'm happy to move.
Thanks, Marty. Seconded, Joss. No comments?
No comment. No.
Okay. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Carried. Stuart, you had a question? Sorry.
Hi, sorry about that. I know I thought I just dropped a quick note to Malcolm and Bruce because in terms of that past item I couldn't connect unfortunately, but I was just wondering about the resourcing that's going to be required. It looks like a heck of a lot of work there for management and staff to provide these inputs to respond to government proposals. And, you know, I mean, it's really about that. It's a hell of a lot of work.
Yes, Malcolm, any comments around that?
Yeah, I think until they sort of start coming through, or you know, it's difficult to determine what level of resourcing we need to be able to respond. I think at the moment we're comfortable with the level of resourcing we've got, and if we find that there's a need to increase it, we'll come back and talk to council about it.
Right, thank you. Okay, 7.3, regional sports facilities rate allocation for 2021 to 24. We've got 6 recommendations there. Is everyone happy to take them all together? Yeah. So mover and seconder, please.
Move it, thanks.
Thanks, Rick. Seconded, Amy. Discussion or questions? No, not seeing anyone's hand up. Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Okay, operational reports, number 8. So 8.1 is health and safety report. And it is just the one recommendation there to be received. Could I have the mover and seconder, please? Moved Amy, seconded Terry. Thanks, Terry. Do we have any questions on the health and safety report? Marty?
Just a spike in the hazard-related incidents in July, but I can't see how it relates to the events reported. If we can just be a bit of an explanation on that, please. Where it went up to 20 hazard-related.
So, Chair, the spike is a result of us introducing a new system around vehicle control and speed management, and it came in for the first month in July, which resulted in the spike being there because it was an additional measure that we've added to the matrix of measurement, or additional factor. But pleasingly, in August, the number dropped back quite significantly as well. So we, even although we've got that additional matrix there, we're back to a more normal level of incidents that are being reported. So this is part of our automated e-ride program where we, every vehicle that we have is on a GPS tracker that tracks, not only where the vehicle is, but also the speeds that it's traveling at.
Okay, thanks. That clarifies it. Thanks. Thanks, Malcolm.
Thanks, Marty. Yeah, I guess my question around that, and I think I've spoken to you about it before, Malcolm. Do we differentiate in sort of, I don't know, consequences between a staff member who's going over 20 k's in a urban zone and someone on the open road? Given that when you're overtaking on an open road, you quite often will go over.
So, Chair, my understanding is at the moment, and I could be corrected, but is that we're only monitoring open road travel. And we'll report, we're monitoring all of it at all different levels, but we're only triggering an incident on open road travel when people are going in excess of the 100 kilometers an hour. But also the mechanism doesn't, or the system doesn't allow us to know for how long they're traveling at that speed. So, they may be passing another vehicle and then just go over the trigger point. It will trigger an incident, even if it was only for a few seconds. So at the moment, we can't tell whether the person had sped excessively over an extended time or just for a very short period while they're passing. But it's something that we're still looking into, just how we actually use and manage this new information that we've got and what the system can completely, supply us with. But it's just another step towards managing and mitigating the risk, because as you see, the vehicle speeding and vehicle accidents are 2 of our top 3 hazards that we're trying to manage. So it's just another step in the program to try and manage those risks.
Thank you, Malcolm. Any further questions?
No. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favour of 8.1, health and safety?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Thank you. 8.2, Chair's report to Council. I'll move. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Jack. Are there any questions, comments?
No.
Cool. All those in favour?
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Awesome. 8.3, Chief Executive's report to Council. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Thank you, Joss, and seconder Jack. Questions, comments? Jack.
I guess a question for Colin Dale. I see the data on FDE compliance is really quite pleasing. I know it's early in the season, but you've got a really good trend. Is there anything you can attribute that to?
Colin with us.
His name's on the screen.
Just click the unmute. Yeah, I think you're right, Councillor Craw. It is early in the season, so it is always a bit. I'm a bit reluctant to get too ahead of the game, but I think it's positive. It may reflect that the weather to a degree, but yeah, let's hope it continues and the trend at the end of the season is just as good as it is now.
And while I have you, Colin, one other small question. Thank you. One other small question on page 57. I see our monitoring network review. Will that give us better performance management? Will it allow us to audit better, or is it about efficiency drive? What's the driver for that review? Thank you.
It was about how if you like, effective and representative our network is in terms of the requirements of the National Freshwater Policy Statement. So yeah, it was just time to look at are we getting good value for the investment we are putting into monitoring the state of the environment. And of course, with the changes in legislation and additional responsibilities and requirements, it was an opportune time to do that and make sure that we can meet our obligations under the NPS Freshwater.
Thank you. Thanks, Colin. Any further questions?
Yeah, could I just comment briefly there?
Certainly.
So it's also part of our broader program to try and improve productivity across the organisation and use more technology as a means of improving productivity. So as Colin has said, there are two major elements. The one is to try and improve the coverage so that we have a better understanding of and improve data from our environmental data network, but then, as I say, also to try and use more technology as a way of increasing the overall productivity of the organisation, so that we don't have to have people in the field doing physical sampling and physical monitoring, and using remote technology to do that.
Amy.
Yeah, I just had a question on page 51. There was a reference to, sorry, I have to find my, just in terms of working remotely and the challenges with systems working for staff at home and the relationship between that and internet provision. And I just wondered, I haven't been able to find anything online from Northland Inc. I'm just wondering what's happening with the digital enablement work. And I just, as we're going through these, this process of having lockdown again and whatever the future might hold, just reinforces the importance that we ensure that across Northland everybody has access to functional internet. So just wondering if there's any update available on that.
Chair, I don't have anything that I can add just at the moment, but we could go away and ask. I'm not sure, Ben, do you a bit closer?
No, sorry, I don't. So I assume you were then going to offer that we can come back to you with some information on that. So yes, we can do that.
Thank you. Yeah, just I actually was thinking Justin might be here and he might have some awareness from the work that he's doing with Northland Inc. But yeah, just seems to be ongoing and important. And the only other thing I wanted to mention was just the work that was done on the Batwing Passion Flower, that biosecurity work where the project was extended and then they found a really significant parent plant that was really big, just really reinforces the importance of that work that they were doing and the need to extend the surveillance area. So just full credit to the biosecurity team for the work that they're doing there. So thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yes, certainly another comprehensive report with so much going on. It's amazing. So I've got Jack and then Marty. Thank you,
Penny. Look, just firstly, a thank you to Malcolm, for anyone else who's listening in. This is a pretty fulsome report, despite the fact that we're in lockdown, been in lockdown for a while, and staff, ability to get things done has been constrained. But if you have a look at the report, there's still a huge amount of activity. And just to back up Amy's comment on the Batwing, it was also finding a new site of Manchurian wild rice, and that takes a little bit of work. So well done by security. My comment is about page 64, the region-wide river flood mapping exercise. Now, obviously, it follows on from the coastal flooding one, and there's going to be that data has to be sent out to landowners. And that's quite a big job, and obviously there's going to be feedback and whatnot. It's just basically I'd like to think that if staff are constrained and find it a little bit difficult to make those timelines, that we would be okay with pushing those timelines out a little bit. And if you needed a bit more time, please come back to us.
Comments from staff?
Kia ora, Chair, Jono here. Yep, just thank you for the recognition, I guess, of the pressure on staff at the moment. At the moment, my understanding is that we're still on track, but if we do get slippages, we will by all means come back to council.
Thank you. Marty?
Yeah, and just agreeing with Jack there about congratulations and thanks very much for the full report. Just one correction on the hygiene stations and the code of protection. It's Wairere boulders, not Waiere. So just pointing that out. Page 61. So the Wairere boulders.
Thanks, Marty. Good spot. Rick?
And I just want to commend also the Maritime, because we did have a meeting with Mangawhai a few months ago, and they complained about harbour safety, and it's good to see that a lot has been put in, a lot of time and energy has gone into it, and I know there'll be a warden down there now at Mangawhai, so it's taken on board, and I think the community will appreciate it. So I want to thank the Maritime staff as well. Thank you.
Nice. Yes, thanks, Rick. Certainly with daylight savings starting in spring here, there's going to be a lot more activity out in the Maritime area. Okay, if there's no further questions or comments. Oh, sorry, Amy.
Sorry, I had one more in my notes that I just found. It was just a question for Tony, just around on page 72, there's the discussion of the challenges that bus drivers are having around their confidence handling cash, and particularly in the COVID environment, and that we're working to come up with a system where that is basically dealt with so they don't have to handle cash. I guess I just wanted to understand, Tony, what's your thinking around the impact that that shift might have on in terms of discouraging people from using the buses? I'm just thinking on in other ways we're trying to encourage bus use and increase use rates, and just wondering how much harder it makes it for people if we're saying no cash or you need to have the exact cash. Just wanting to understand the potential impact of that.
Chris, are you there? Yeah, you are, aren't you? Chris, could you answer that?
One moment, I'll go and find Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning to the councillors. To Councillor McDonald, this was an issue raised specifically by the drivers. We have been advised by the Ministry of Health that if a driver is wearing a mask and gloves, there is no health risk at all. However, in an effort to make it easier for the drivers and the passengers, because may obviously not go away, we are going to be purchasing fare box cash boxes, where a person will get on the bus and put the cash into the box. The box is made of perspex, so the driver will be able to see what cash is going in, that it is the correct cash, and then it will go through and they will receive a ticket. So that will take away any interaction between a passenger and a driver, and they're pretty happy with that. And the other thing is we are promoting as hard as we can to get as many people onto the B card as possible, so they can just swipe on and off. They don't have to go with the drive, go up to the drive if they don't need to. So yeah, it is something we're dealing with. We're on top of. Thank you.
I guess it will just be interesting, and the stats will show us how much that potentially, impedes people's ability to catch a bus. That requirement to have the correct cash, but we will see it coming out in the subsequent months once that's implemented. So thank you for the work that you're doing, and it's really good to support our drivers, but just want to make sure we're also making it possible for people to catch buses.
Yeah. In reply to Councillor McDonald's sort of concern over the passenger tendering the right fare, we've had no adverse feedback on that at all at this time. So hopefully it all goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, sir.
Yes. Well, those boxes will certainly make all the difference, I'm sure. Okay, so no further comments or questions. All those in favour of accepting the CEO's report?
Aye.
Anyone against? Excellent, thank you. 8.4, 2020-21 Northland Transport Agency activity update. Very comprehensive update, thank you, and very interesting. So Rick, you're moving?
I'd like to move it, thanks. Yes, definitely.
Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Amy. Yeah, so it's a great report, one that we get. Obviously, the committee gets a lot more. They get the full quarterly updates. So we have Calvin here. Calvin, would you like to kick us off, unless you wanted some opening comments?
No, thank you, Chair. Morning, everybody. Guess just want to make a slight correction. It's the Northern Transportation Alliance as opposed to agency, just so we're not confused with the NZTA. So yeah, just this is a report that we have developed for the year-end summary. It's similar to a report that's gone to each of the 3 district councils as well, covering off both the activities of the Alliance internally, but also the actual specific activities related to the regional council and district councils. As the report outlines, it's been a busy year both internally and externally, and I guess we just sum it up with the fact that the Alliance itself is starting to gel quite nicely. Real huge development on vision and values and the actual culture of the organisation. Some really good interactions happening in the road safety space between the NRC teams and the district council providers, with recent appointment of Nicole Korak to a new role of road safety promotion project manager, which is looking at all road safety right across the region. So incorporating not only what Ian does, but also Far North REAP and Road Safety Northland and all those contracts. So bringing all that together to make sure we've got joined up delivery and strategy. There's been some new bus services put on, obviously, with the Whangarei Heads, which is presently under review due to low patronage, but also the Hikarangi service, and also yeah, as Chris mentioned, some good uptake in the B card, but still pushing that, and obviously still a bit of a hangover with the especially the gold card users' patronage on the CityLink services, and as an impact of COVID and hesitancy to come back to that. So we're working through that. Finally, I guess I'll just say on the capital works perspective, it's been a record year. We were concerned that maintenance and operations budgets across the region would be constrained to potentially having an impact on levels of service, but the recent NLTP announcements show that we, with the $2 billion central government injection into the fund, we are able to meet levels of service across the district, and in some key areas able to commence with our strategy and enhancement programs, albeit some of them may have been 3-year programs that we've pushed out to 4 or 5 just to fit within the funding. But areas like bridges, resilience, and unsealed road networks have all got earmarked investment over the next few years to improve those key areas. And I guess anything else is just questions, Chair.
Thank you, Kelvin. Yeah, it's good to see that even though councils didn't get everything they've still got more than last year. And just looking at the comparing ourselves with other regions for what we got out of that 2 billion, we did very well, didn't we, comparatively?
Yeah, I think comparatively it shows we had a good, strong activity management plan. So this year, this cycle, we did a regional activity management plan, which incorporated the case for Northland as opposed to individual district councils and regional councils. So the plan is there. We know what it is that needs to be done, and we're pleased that we've got at least a significant portion of that funding to start that work.
Very good. I'll see your hand up, Marty. Rick, did you have any comments before we?
Look, I just want to congratulate Kelvin and the team. Done a fantastic job. You know, it's obviously trying times and up and down. We've had the 4-lane highway turned down, and we've had extra money put in. You've done very well. And I did just forward all those documents to the other councillors if they need to have a look at the National Land Transport program. And if you want to have a read of those, there's a heap of material there, and you may want to ask myself some questions. If I can't answer them, which I probably won't be able to, I'll definitely pass them on to Kelvin. So please have a look if you get a chance. There's some really interesting information in there. Only if you're interested. It's a lot of detail, and like we do get gets a bit confusing, so no panic on those, and I'm sure Kelvin will be happy to sort them out. And the only thing I wanted to talk to is we have emphasised the road to zero. We're backing the Wakatahi on that, and you look at the road deaths, 15 on state highways, 6 on local roads. So the emphasis, the safety is going into that national state highway network. So let's just keep, and I know there's some work starting on just south of Whangarei soon, hopefully before Christmas, with that announced funding. So that's all good news. And once again, the collaboration between the councils is awesome. So let's just hold it up as a flagship. So thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Rick. Marty.
Just drilling into the fatalities on page 78, the one that you just brought up there, Rick. I wonder, you look at us as a population of about 190,000, say 21 deaths is about 1 to 9,000. Put it across on a national one, 188 New Zealand wide is about 1 to 25,000. So we're about just under 3 times worse than the national average. And I wonder if this is being investigated to see whether it's the quality of the roading or the quality of the drivers or the quality of the vehicles. And if there's a comparative region similar to us, probably rural, that is how we compare with them, just to see what's causing the fatalities. Is it to see whether we can correct it better, whether we focus on the vehicle or better driving skills, or roads? Are we focusing on the right thing? Can you help me on that, Kelvin?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll kick off, and Chris may be able to add to this. But we do investigate each fatality that occurs. So an investigation is undertaken to find the contributing factors. That's done in parallel with the police. We tend to focus on the roading environment associated with it. Now, my understanding is somewhere in the vicinity of approximately 30% of accidents have some relationship with the road condition, but not necessarily the key factor. Generally, according to police, at their updates to RTC, most of the factors are related to RIDs, so restraints, impairment, distraction, or speed. In saying that, there is significant safety investment on a number of key corridors. Our high risk corridors across Northland were deemed as high priority in the National Land Transport Plan, and combination of speed limit reviews, safety interventions, engineering and the likes are being targeted on a number of key corridors, both state highways and local roads. I guess probably the conversation that we continue to have with Waka Kotahi is the actual split of fatalities and serious injuries accidents in Northland. So 70 odd % on state highways in Northland versus national average of 47%. I guess that is reflective of the significant reliance of state highways in Northland and a number of the roads and are not. And that's where Waka Kotahi are looking at some of those key fatality corridors for wire rope centre landing and delineation and actual infrastructure safety interventions. So, Chris, have you got anything to add to that?
I think through the chair, in support of what Calvin said, our top 3 major issues in Northland, from number 1 down, the top is speed, too fast for the conditions or the roads. Second is what they term as impairment, which is both alcohol and drugs. And the third one is what they term distraction, which is anything when you take your eyes off the road, unfortunately, to answer your cell phone, etc., etc. So at the moment, and again, one of our biggest drives, and the police are doing it too, is to try and get people to slow down, to drive sober, and to watch the road. So a lot of it is on the drivers themselves. Yes, our roads can be fixed, there can be better barriers put up, etc., etc. But a lot is on the drivers, and that's what we just got to keep going at. Just thank you.
Thanks, Calvin. Thanks, Chris. Yes, unfortunately, it's all, well, the large majority is self-inflicted, but put your hand up.
Sorry, did you just ask me to talk, Penny? I think my computer went funny. I guess just a comment on page 81. There's the commentary around some of the challenges with the antisocial behaviour at the Rose, maybe on the buses as well, but at the Rose Street terminal. And just wanting to really support anything NRC can do with WDC to resolve that and improve that, because just going back to my previous comments, into the future, we're really hoping to get more people onto buses, and it needs to be a positive experience from the bus stop into the city and back home again. So yeah, certainly seems like it's a bit of a challenge. But yeah, just really wanting to support the work that staff are doing in that space, and yeah, hope that we can get it to the point that it's a really lovely experience to catch a bus in Whangarei for our people.
Sorry, may I reply to Councillor McDonald?
Yes, thank you.
One of the things that we are doing, which we're going to commence in the new year, is the buses that the school children use, particularly from 2 or 3 of the suburbs, instead of coming via Rose Street in the morning, getting off and going up to the schools, or loading at Rose Street in the afternoon, we're going to be running a certain number of buses, what we would call school children only, direct from those suburbs direct to the school, and then from the school direct back to the suburbs, which we are hoping, along with the police, is going to mitigate I'll be honest, some quite serious behaviour down here. which, yes, has driven other passengers away. And hopefully by separating the school children and some of their misbehaviour from the normal bus service, that will encourage folk to start coming back to the buses. So that is in hand, yes. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Tony Phipps.
And I guess, Chair, it's also, disappointing that the Rose Street upgrade that's, been on the books and we've been after for, I guess it's getting on for a decade now, still hasn't been accomplished. And I wondered if there was any update on that.
I believe Jeff is on the call, is probably the best person to respond to that, Chair.
Yes, I did notice it underspent. Jeff.
He's on mute. I'll just have to tell him to unmute. I can hear him across the office.
Oh. It looks like he's unmuted himself, but can't hear him.
He's got a problem with the computer, sorry.
Oh.
It shows that it is going through, but there's nothing coming through. So we'll follow that up and report back to council.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay, if there's no more comments or questions, if we could just change that title to the report, Chris. Thanks, Jack. Good suggestion. So that's the Northland Transport Alliance as opposed to agency. All those in favour of receiving the report? Anyone against? Awesome, thank you. And thank you very much, Calvin, Chris and Jeff for joining us.
Thank you.
Excellent year, thank you. Well done.
Just thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Items 9, receipt of committee minutes and working party group or working group updates. 9.1, receipt of committee minutes. So we've got 2 there, the Regional Transport Committee and the Joint Climate Change Adaptation Committee. Could I have a mover and seconder, please, for accepting those? Thanks, Rick. Seconder, Amy. Rick, would you like to kick off with the Regional Transport Committee?
Sure. Look, a lot of it's been covered because we've just discussed all the initiatives that come out of there. So really, they're covered in Kelvin's report.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything I particularly need to pick out of there. I'm just having another quick look. I don't think so. I think it's all covered. In terms of the rural driver licensing, that's on page 4. That was an initiative by Ann Court from Far North. So there may be some questions on that, but if there are, we can follow those up. So thank you.
Do you just want to quickly cover off on Ann Court's motion that she was wanting a report done on 4-lane highway?
Right. Obviously, the Regional Transport Committee was concerned about the lack of support for the funding. So Anne in particular was looking at, I guess, ways of reviewing this and bringing it up again. And so she's proposed this, the proposal for production of indicative economic and delivery business case. So it has something which has come up before. She is very passionate about that and forceful about it. She has distributed those documents and we are looking at the moment, and Tony or Chris may wish to comment further on that. Or have they gone?
Tony's still here. Any comments, Tony?
Not really. I mean, as Councillor Stork said, it was the highway and the 4-laning of the highway is a priority in the Regional Land Transport Plan. So I guess Councillor Court is really just trying to continue to promote that.
Yeah, so the proposal is she wants that report done and then to hand that on to officials or the minister, isn't it? And try and get some.
Yeah, I understand that. So, yes.
I mean, the thing is, and sorry, Chair, that obviously we were disappointed, and is as the rest of the RTC still supports it. It's our #1 priority, so we are just trying to keep it on the table. And I think the point is that it is not completely gone. It is just off the table at the moment. So that is one of the points of her bringing this up, that she wants to keep the whole thing alive. So this report will do that.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.
Any questions for Rick? Yes, Jack.
I'm glad you raised that point because I was going to. My question is about the timeline of being able to get that quote back to the NFT. That seems like an extraordinarily short timeline turnaround to get that back to the next NFT meeting. Any comments, Rick?
We can only try. A lot of the information is sitting there to be collated, so I don't think it won't be in this meeting, Jack, because the meeting is in the next few weeks, but it'll be in the one following that. So she will try. We'll try. I don't think it's possible to get done by then, but look, we were all upset. I think the important thing is that it's kept alive, and we as a regional transport committee support it as elected members, but we also support it in the fact that it is down there as a #1 priority. Also,
thank you.
remembering that the road to safety is also the top of the list, and also that we do not want to lose the fact that collaboration on the whole process is important. We don't want to just destroy our, if you like, our relationships over this. It's a government decision, and we want to work with what we've got. So, and we're very supportive of the extra funding. I think we've got to emphasise that as well.
Sorry, my point was that I guess is that if we're just going to be rejigging the same figures and sending them back, it won't be that authoritative. So I guess what I'm saying is it'd be nice to, if some time is spent on getting the figures, getting them as accurate and authoritative as possible, so then that report will carry more weight with government, because there is a serious difference between what they think the road will cost and what we think the road will cost. So I guess if we take out a little bit of extra time and get it right, it might actually have a better chance of winning. But I support what we're doing, and the report did say at the next NFT, and there's just no way that's possible. Thanks.
Thanks, Jack. Amy, you had a question, comment?
Yeah, thank you. Just a question for Rick. Just with that piece of work being done in the hopes of sort of continuing the conversation with central government, is there an opportunity, given that we heard a really strong message from the Minister of Transport when he visited us around his vision for the future of transport in terms of a low carbon future, probably a bit different to Anne's current approach in mind, but is there an opportunity to kind of put that piece of work in the context of the future of transport for Northland and our relationship with the rest of the nation in terms of people getting here, just with a bit of a climate change and carbon lens? And I know that's probably extra work, but just wondering what the opportunity is to kind of speak a bit more into that future focused language of low carbon.
So that is definitely in the discussion. It's not as if it's dropped. It is definitely it has always been in the discussion. And if you look at it, the funding itself is pointing towards that. And what if we look at the 4-lane highway, the point you bring up, Amy, is that it was dropped, but 4-laning is encouraging the use of cars. So all the other options that we've looked at, they're still on the card. So they're not deleted. They're still there. Okay, they're still working on them. They're still in the plan. Cycling, in particular, it's there. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Tony, did you have any comments? So I see your mic's off, but
perhaps this is going to be an ongoing discussion with the government and the community, and so inevitably the climate change adaptation aspects of it will be added as we go along. You know, the highway will be a benefit whether the vehicles are driven by internal combustion or electric engines. So in some ways, you know, that's all got to be added in the new versions of this discussion.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Tony. So we'll move on to the Joint Climate Change Adaptation Committee. Amy, any comments before we move to questions?
Maybe I'll just speak to a couple of the main items. So we, a draft Te Tai Tokerau Climate Adaptation Strategy was brought to the group to be endorsed as a draft, which will then go out to the respective councils. So that's the 3 TAs and NRC. Each will individually workshop that document, and I see we are doing that tomorrow. And so that was a really good milestone. The inter-council staff working group have done a lot of work, and so it's really great to be at the point where we've got a pretty comprehensive draft that just needs that final process done to get everybody willing to sign off. And it also offers another opportunity for each council to have their tangata whenua representatives as part of the conversation. So that was, yeah, good piece of work, but still ongoing. We have quite an ongoing conversation around how we support our non-elected members to engage in this forum, and it's actually relevant to all of our forums where we ask members of mana whenua and tangata whenua to participate. And so, yeah, just a bit of a conversation around how we deal with so we signed off the allowance policy. Well, it was already signed off by NRC, but that was the agenda item. But there's an ongoing conversation there around how we can best support our Māori membership to be able to give these forums the time that they require, both in terms of preparation before and work outside, as well as participating in meetings. So we're in a good space, and we had really good turnout for the meeting, but yeah, there is an ongoing challenge there for our non-elected members to join us at the table, which is really important. And then another item is that we're just working on our identity. So we're called, I can't even remember what we're called, it's such a mouthful. So we are called currently the Joint Climate Change Adaptation Committee, and we've now got a little subgroup led by Delarraine Armstrong, who are going to support us to get a name that hopefully better represents sort of the aspirations of the group, and maybe is a bit snazzier, I don't know, a bit easier to roll out anyway. So that's really good. And then the last thing was we had a pretty sobering update from our NRC Climate Change Resilience Coordinator on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change AR6 report, which was just released. And just, yeah, a bit of an update on the global picture, and then what that means for us, I guess, as a nation, and us as local government representatives working in this space. So it was a big presentation with a lot of information, but really informative, and certainly emphasised the importance of the work that we're doing. So yeah, thank you. That's a summary from me.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. That report certainly backed up the accuracy too, didn't it?
Yes.
Any questions for Amy? Okay, so item 9.1, let those minutes be, what's the word, confirmed. We'll go with the recommendation. All those in favour? Anyone against? Carried. 9.2, working party updates and chairperson's briefings. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? That we accept those. Moved Marty, thank you. Seconded Amy, thank you. TTMAC, Marty.
Yeah, most of us were there, but I suppose the big outcomes were the strategic intent of the capacity and capability of representation, climate change, water and economic development being adopted by TTMAC. And now it's a matter of sort of aligning it with the TTMAC memorandum of understanding, I suppose, so that it is all moving forward. and that's going to become sort of the basis of how Te Tīmak moves forward. It's going to be every meeting that is addressed as a standing matter, is having the strategic intent in front of us all the time to see that boxes are being ticked and progress has been made through the term going forward. So anybody can say, you know, what did you do as a unit, as a working party, and then be able to tick off achievements on the way along. That's most important. And also the wanting to adopt Te Arawhiti, the health check, towards honouring the treaty, full treaty partners, and ambitiously honouring Te Tiriti. The other matters that came up with the coastal occupation charges, which will go to MTAG, and the pressing pause on the outstanding natural landscapes going forward to the central government. Those are the main live matters, I think. Any questions? I'm happy to try and answer.
Any questions? No. All those in favour of receiving the report?
Thank you.
Anyone against? Carried. River Working Group updates. So we've got the Kaio Whanaroa. Justin's not here. So are there any questions on that report? Oh, hang on. I'll move and seconder, please.
Sorry, just on my agenda, there's also the joint WDC NRC Public Transport Working Party with Terry on page 111.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Amy. It's not on mine. Is it? Oh, yes, it is. Sorry.
Yep.
I missed it. Sorry. Back to item 9.2. Terry. Apologies.
Sorry.
So we're back to working party updates and chairperson's briefing, and we've got the joint WDC NRC Whangarei Public Transport Working Party, which you're chair of. Have you got any? There's a report there. Have you got any comments that you wanted to make, or are you just happy to take questions?
No further comment on that, Chair.
Okay. Any questions for Terry? Okay, so now we'll go to, thanks Amy, accepting the reports. All those in favour again?
Aye.
Okay, carried. Okay, we'll move to 9.3 now, and we've got the River Working Group updates. Could I have a mover and seconder for those reports, please? Thanks, Marty. Seconder, Amy, thank you. So now, sorry, Marty, you're the River.
Yes, yeah, I am. No, that's going well. It's Matangaro. There's getting buy-in from the locals to be able to achieve the works required. Joe Camuso doing well there, the team doing very well. And there was a good and full report of the work done over the last wee while. So just trotting along well. Thank you.
And yes, of course, thanks, Marty. Any questions for Marty? No.
We haven't had the floods or the storm events that we've had, and we also had the presentation of this radar rather than rain gauges being able to tell us what's happening, which is a really good help.
Yeah.
That'll be good help into the future.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Thanks, Marty. Tumariri, Justin's not here. I'll move on to the Kaihu. We had a very good turnout of people. We just about had to rent another room. We were met over at the Seed in Dargaville, and that was after having a trip up the river, which we've done for the last couple of years actually, and it was very beneficial. There's just a few of us went. We took the NRC boat up, and gives you a really good perspective of what's going on from the actual river. So I guess one of the things in there was that we are spending more on tree removal, but that's mainly because there wasn't tree removal that was able to happen last year. So we've carried that funding over, and we're going to do 2 lots this year. So any questions? same as you, Marty, trucking along well, and it was really nice to have that extra bit of interest.
Yeah, good.
Okay, so all those in favour of accepting those reports, please.
Aye.
Anyone against? Carried. Okay, so now we are going to move into business with public excluded. So that will mean that our live streaming will stop. Chris, so thank you very much to anyone who was attending the live streaming.
Sorry, Penny, do you want me to move to go into public exclusion?
Yeah,